Hello and welcome back, everybody. Now, what would have happened if Gotham's protector died on that dreary night when the events of Arkham Asylum occurred? What would happen at Gotham? Who would have stepped in to help? What would the other games look like, and who would attempt to take over Gotham City? Now, let's take a deep dive into this terrifying alternative reality where we figure out what would happen if Batman died in Arkham Asylum. Quickly though, I would really appreciate if you would mind subbing to the channel. Of the late, the algorithm has not really been enjoying Arkham Boss's content all too much, but as always, make sure to join the ever-growing Discord as well. But let's go ahead and hop into it. So, throughout Arkham Asylum, Batman faced countless opportunities where he could have died, whether it's fighting giant Titan Joker goons, fighting Poison Ivy's massive plant monster, or even Bane who's out for blood. But in my opinion, Arkham Batman is surviving those with some bruises or scratches. But if Batman's going to die, I mean, it may as well happen at the end of the game. The Joker final boss fight. The entire night comes to a close when Bruce was tasked to fight and defeat one of Joker's strongest forms, or at least a more juiced up version. He's already been through so much throughout the entire night. He's tired, fatigued, and just had to fight off the effects of the Titan Serum. And so, as the fight drags on, Batman takes one too many punches from Titan Joker and is done. Now, I don't believe Joker would kill Batman even though he won, but at the same time, Arkham Joker is a tad bit different from other renditions. But anyways, for the sake of the video, let's say Joker hits Batman a little too hard and that's it. Lights out and it's over for Bruce. The entirety of Gotham, who watches live on TV, sees their caped crusader fall victim to the most insane villain in his gallery. This would immediately send Gotham to a state of many feelings. Fear because their most powerful protector is now dead. Chaos because many people are probably wanting to move out of Gotham and just don't know what to do, and maybe even protest and much more. But let's just say the GCPD would have a lot of work on their hands. A lot. Gotham would be a complete mess because at this point in Arkham Asylum, Bruce is truly their set in stone superhero. Remember, Asylum is not Batman's first rodeo. He's been going for a while at this point, and so he's always coming through on top. And so this would create that general sense of chaos and fear. So much hope would be instantly crushed by this incident. I presume the GCPD would go in full lockdown mode like in Arkham Knight, and now the city is waiting imminent villain attack. So it gets a bit tricky, and for the sake of the video and lore-wise, I'm gonna have to include Suicide Squad into this part because
oh brother, this guy stinks!
It'll make it much smoother and a lot of lore is added in that game, and I want to solely rely on Easter eggs in prior games. But anyways, we do know that Superman, Flash, and some other members were indeed active during this time. Of course, during this Arkham Asylum. Apparently, Supes was helping Flash take down Gorilla Grodd, and of course, there are a plethora of references to Superman and Flash in Arkham Knight and other thug dialogue throughout the Arkham games and series, and with a relatively short time that takes place from Arkham Asylum to Arkham Knight, these superheroes were definitely around. But you may be asking, if Superman didn't come to help Bruce when Scarecrow took over Gotham, why would he come now? Well, the real answer is, I don't really know, but there are many answers that it could be. Scarecrow's attack took place in just one night, pretty much. Superman may have had complications on Metropolis, and Batman is indeed a loner, but I really do think that if Batman died, and at this point he's quite world-renowned, other superheroes would be willing and wanting to come help out Gotham, as they know what is about to come out of the city. I could even imagine Green Arrow coming more into the main picture, as we know for sure he's currently running Queen Industries, with a plethora of other details we can see throughout the Arkham games that reference Oliver Queen and Queen Industries. So yeah, I definitely think there would be some superhero help coming into Gotham City pretty short after Batman does die. As well as these guys, of course, Robin, aka Tim Drake, would be the first one on the scene of the incident. He would be at the asylum ASAP, wanting answers, questions, and most importantly, Joker's head. It would be pretty insane to see maybe Robin turn more into the Injustice 2 Robin we see, a very, very hateful version of him that would want Joker dead in any way, shape, or form.
So you won't kill, but you're fine with traumatic brain injuries.
Secure the loading dock.
And I think this would be a very plausible outcome for him, and who knows what will end up happening to Jason since Bruce is dead. What would the future look like for him? Would he still end up becoming the Arkham Knight? Also, do let me know who you think would come in and help out Gotham City and the GCPD down below, because there's definitely some that I'm missing. But of course, I've got to bring up Dick, or Nightwing.
My name's Richard Grayson, but all the kids at the orphanage call me Dick.
Well, children can be cruel.
Yeah.
Because he too would be on the scene ASAP alongside Tim wanting answers. But I think it would be really cool to see because while Tim is most likely really angry and wanting Joker dead, Dick would want answers but not as much revenge. He'd be trying to calm Tim down before he makes a stupid decision that Bruce wouldn't want him to make. And maybe this is what we see similar to the animated movie where Tim accidentally kills Dick through his rage. Maybe Nightwing is trying to stop Robin's path of vengeance and ends up in the crossfire. It would be really cool to see like how they react to each other and what Nightwing does to try to stop Robin from doing something he'll regret. Now, at this point in time, Joker is probably the most powerful villain, reach-wise and influence in the area. And so, after killing Batman, he would either go into a full state of deep depression over killing his true love.
You're the reason I've given up a life spent with Russian ballerinas and lady activewear models. And if it wasn't for you, say...
He had me at shut up.
Or take over Gotham City and make it more into what we see in the Harley Quinn show. And I do really think that taking down the GCPD wouldn't be all too much of a challenge for him, because once he takes out their main forces behind a plethora of goons and henchmen, and I mean a lot, all he would have to worry about is either the National Guard, who I doubt would come, or splinter forces of the GCPD around the city. And his stuff from foreign help from coming in, I feel like Joker would do something to stop them, like planting huge bombs around Gotham's harbor, kind of like what we see in the Batman, to pretty much hold Gotham hostage. But again, this really isn't a long-term strategy that would work, and so I would guess that in reality, Batman's death would more turn Gotham into a war zone with various factions coming in and taking territory. It would really just turn into a hellscape. And you think that just taking out Batman wouldn't be enough for all this to happen? Well, if there's no superhero to help like we see in Arkham Knight, I really do think the GCPD would stand no chance. I mean, with Batman and Arkham Knight, it's sort of obvious that would have been absolutely decimated by Scarecrow. But again, since there are definitely active superheroes at the time of Arkham Asylum, this definitely would be enough in my opinion for those heroes to step in. Now, I thought it'd be a fun idea to create a new game in the Arkhamverse that follows this timeline of Batman's death. And I know I did mention that I would go over what the other games would look like, but it's just really hard to say. But to say the least, I do think Arkham City would still actually happen, because of course you can find the blueprints of Hugo Strange's plans in the Warden's office of Arkham Asylum. And without Batman to foil his plans and expose Hugo, man, it would be really tough to stop him, and Ra's would just become more and more powerful using the Lazarus. But anyways, I think a game after this huge event occurred would have to be mainly focused on Robin, and him trying to uphold Bruce's legacy. If he doesn't end up like Injustice 2 Robin, of course. Maybe it's even just Robin trying to take down Hugo Strange and Protocol 10 in Arkham City, with Hugo taunting him the entire time that he'll never be good enough or anything near what Bruce was. Kinda like what we see in the Flip of the Coin DLC. And even Ra's al Ghul trying to see if Robin is enough to be his heir, like how he wanted Batman to be. We could even see characters like how Talia, Penguin, and Mr. Freeze react to Batman's death, and what it means concerning their future. Like I said earlier, these crime families would probably be giddy at the first hearing of Batman's death, because it means potential expanding of their empires across Gotham City. But back to the game, seeing Robin trying to tackle what Bruce left behind for him would be really awesome to see. How he would take down Hugo, and even if he does, how could Robin possibly stop Scarecrow if the Arkham Knight events end up occurring? But to be fair, the events of Arkham Knight would have to be a bit different, because now Jason doesn't have anything to force his rage upon, because he can't get revenge on Batman, and so there could be potential whereas Jason becomes more of a crime boss in Gotham with so much pent up rage and nowhere to put it. Maybe becoming Red Hood to a whole new level in Gotham. No anti-hero this time, just a pure hatred-filled villain. Also, a cool DLC to the game in my opinion would be going over Titan, and how now it has potential becoming a huge issue in the world, because I highly doubt Bane can stop it all from spreading without Bruce's help. We could also see how Robin or Jason tries to locate all the remaining Titan containers, or even stop Joker henchmen from loading off docks and from spreading across the continental US and beyond. And like I talked about earlier, I could see Nightwing or Dick Grayson coming to this scenario trying to stop Tim from doing something that he will regret, aka killing the Joker. Something Batman would never want him to do. Maybe throughout the game we could both play as Dick and Tim, where Dick is trying to track down Tim on his warpath trying to stop him, and Tim is actively and ferociously hunting the Joker one henchman at a time. Man, this would be so goated to see, but again, probably not gonna happen. But again, it would be really awesome to see, and I think it could be an awesome little addition, maybe like DLC, like fantasy story type thing. I think I would really appreciate that, but again, at this point, I'm just hoping for more Arkham content. Now, lastly, I want to kind of break down how I think the various villains would react to Batman's death. I did talk a little about this earlier, but not all of them. Starting off with the most hated man for anybody who's ever played Arkham, the Riddler. Or the Diddler.
Be this, Batman. What is long, hard, and has come in the middle?
A penis.
No, the answer is cucumber!
Now, in my opinion, I think Edward would be super excited and happy and very smug after he finds out, but of course, after a while, he would become really complacent. There's nobody smart enough to solve his riddles. Nobody to stop him in the way he wants, solving his riddles. We can kind of see this in the Gotham show where Riddler is pretty annoyed. I forget who, but I think it's like two cops or detectives, like they're answering the riddles just incorrectly.
Loneliness. How do you
not know that?
And it's pretty fun. I think it's Lucius Fox, but anyways, it's a funny scene. It really shows how Riddler is fully just into his mind. It doesn't matter who he is, who he's fighting. He just wants these riddles to be solved in his way. He's an arrogant prick, and he's super annoying, but yeah. Anyways, so for him, honestly, he would not be all too happy in the end, but I could see him taking over a bit of Gotham City with his robots potentially, but yeah, no, he would be bored out of his mind. Two-Face for me, though, would have two reactions, you know, because he's two faces. But I think Harvey side would have a lot of trouble with this, knowing he's Bruce Wayne. Harvey would annoy the hell out of this evil side of himself. Grieving over Bruce's death could even make him more vengeful and wrathful. But the Two-Face gang is so large at this point that I think Two-Face would just be able to move on and, of course, help cause chaos in Gotham City, robbing banks left and right, growing out his empire, kind of like we saw in the Flip of the Coin DLC. Catwoman, though, would be in distress. So broken and distraught over the events that took place on the Asylum that she would pull the classic Selena move and leave Gotham. But this time, I think she would really have a hard time coming back, not like Arkham City. She may even move farther than Bloodhaven this time, hoping for a fresh new start, to forget the past. Now, there's a few villains in the Arkhamverse who I think would not really care all that much and just be happy they'll have free pickings in Gotham City for a while. I mean, we've got Penguin, Clayface, Killer Croc, who in some universes I would say may have some sympathy, but not really Arkham Croc. But you never know, Bruce did kind of defend him in Arkham Knight, so maybe he has some character arc, but again, this happens a bit before Knight, and so Asylum Croc would definitely not give a shit if Batman died. I mean, in Arkham Asylum, he wanted to kill him the second he saw him. So imagine that same Killer Croc feeling bad for his death? Yeah, I don't think so. I think you'd have a good time having some fresh meat around Gotham. And then, of course, people like Firefly, Mad Hatter, biggest bitch in Arkham. Maybe Joker would wipe out Mad Hatter at the same time and save us trouble, but that's really about it. I really do think Joker would have the most tough time mentally, because I think he would feel really bad and kind of in the same situation as Riddler, where you'd have no one to really stop him if other superheroes don't come. He would get really bored, he'd get really complacent, he wouldn't be the same Joker. He would need someone new, which of course Robin or Nightwing could help step in and fill that gap. Not help Joker, obviously, but you get my point. I really do think, like, when we see other renditions of Joker when Batman dies, it's just not great for him. And I think Joker, in reality, at the end of the day, probably wouldn't kill Batman in Arkham Asylum, even though he did threaten him a lot and try to kill him. I think at the end of the day, Joker is Joker, and he wouldn't actually try to kill Batman, but it would be really interesting to see in Arkham Asylum. But anyways, thank you for watching. Please do let me know your thoughts per usual, and go check out my last two videos. They didn't really perform well, but they are pretty funny and a good watch to say the least. I would never want this to happen, of course, in the Arkhamverse, and we sort of got to see this in Gotham Knights, but it would not go down so hot in the Arkham games. But again, this is a really interesting take on such a famous series, and a drastic one at that. And please do let me know if you'd like to see more what ifs in the future. But other than that, I would highly appreciate if you would mind subscribing to the channel. Again, I'd really appreciate it. Help me out a lot. If you ever want to check out the Discord, I'll link it below. It's a safe space, and it's just really fun to talk about DC, lore, whatever. It gets a little weird sometimes, but other than that, stay safe. I do hope you're all doing well, and go follow the TikTok. I linked in below, and goodbye.